Hello, my little droplets. So today we're going to talk about tropes and cliches, and specifically we're going to talk about something I like to call the tragic tranny. Now, before we do anything, let's have a little bit of a spoiler warning because this was all inspired by one of my favorite shows, Penny Dreadful. And I'm telling you right now, spoilers ahead. Give yourself a minute. Decide if you care about Penny Dreadful, because Season 2 has some spoilers. You good? You done? You ready? Because here it goes. Now, the way it worked, now, Penny Dreadful is a show I very much like. It's very gothic, it's very creepy, and if you're familiar with it, you know that they took the basic gothic stories of Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, and all that, and some other things. They mixed it up. There's one character, Dorian Gray, who is an immortal linked to a painting, and his storyline in the second season involves a character named Angelique. Angelique is a beautiful woman who just so happens to be transgender. And she's transgender in a time when there was no transitioning. There was beyond going to someone and having them get a butcher's block, doing some unpleasant things. There was no transition in the 1800s. So who you were was who you were. And she's very beautiful, and she's kind of a unique, and it was very brave of them, I have to say, to actually have her. Because, you know, we don't often get good representation. This was an interesting, strong character. And then she dies. There, spoiler. And you see, it's not so much that she dies, but more the fact that that's the narrative of the transgender person in stories. Much like another common thing, which is the I die for the white master, which also happened in Penny Dreadful. The black guy dies to keep his white friend alive. Brown people there's a common trope there too, where brown people protect their white person at the cost of their own lives. Aren't they noble? Now, I want to clear this up in that these are good stories. They aren't necessarily gratuitous deaths. It's more like they serve as a reminder for these common tropes. You see, when Angelique dies, she dies to demonstrate the fact that as beautiful and special and loving and exceptional and really valuable a human being she is, she cannot be loved by Dorian because Dorian Gray cannot love anybody. He has no love. He lacks that ability. Even when he cares for someone, it's only so long as they're entertaining to him. But also, you know, her death is tragic, and it's used as a tragedy. And that's really what comes down to is what trans women generally are portrayed as. We're tragic. We're sad. We, let's see, you know, it's like we're, okay, just to list a few things. the Dallas Buyers Society. Again, some of these are true. A lot of these are true stories, by the way, and that's part of the reason this happens. The Dallas Buyers Society. The trans woman has AIDS, gets really sick, and dies. Boys Don't Cry. The trans man dies. Danish Girl. She dies. Almost every story is about us dying, and or about our struggle. And what you don't see is almost anything else until very, very recently. And then it's only 2 or 3 things. I mean, but mostly it's we are either tragic or villains. And it's kind of a shame. I mean, on the villain side, I send you over to, the first one that pops up in my mind was, of all things, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, from back in the 90s, which was particularly horrible in how it ended with the making fun of a trans narrative. And then there's more recent days, there was a show called Lost Girl, and there's an episode in which a person trying to be female is dragged away by an angry mob for lying about who they are. It's a troublesome narrative, but that's what comes out a lot. It's like we are, again, villains or victims. And when this happens, people associate that what they see with us, so we become even further outsiders. I mean, how do you connect with someone who's either going to be oh so pathetic or oh so terrible? It's also a very it's a very disempowering thing to be put in the victim role every time. You know, it's very sexist because it's also very sexist because it says, especially for trans women, actually for both trans men and trans women, and as always it comes back to the female narrative. You see, if it's a trans man, they are vulnerable because their roots, they have come from a place of womanhood and therefore are weaker, and they just can't keep up. If they are a trans woman, I hope I said trans man in that earlier one. Well, we'll fix it in post. If it is a trans woman, then we're out and out liars and need to be punished for going into a place we don't belong. So yeah, trans men are weak, trans women are evil. It's not good for either way. Being portrayed as this also suggests to people that we can't be happy. And it makes people not want to be around us. I mean, who wants to be around someone who's only sad? And we have a lot of wonderful things about us. I mean, we're people. But there's a lot of joys that you don't often see. Things like, just transition itself is at times a insanely exultant experience to become who you really are is a gift in some ways. You know, you get to be real. You get to be a human being. You get to be the person you've dreamed of. You get to look in the mirror and not hate yourself. And then, if things go right, you get freedom. You get the freedom of being yourself. And there's a strength in the fact that you fight for it. To fight for being who you are means you value it on a level that is beyond what most people ever even think about. And there's a glory in the fact that we do it despite everything, because we have to. And it's just a shame that that part of our lives are, don't come in there. It's the same way as how our bodies are portrayed, especially trans bodies are often portrayed as wrong or titillating because of how they are. And trans bodies are beautiful. All bodies are beautiful, but we're talking about trans here. And well, it's this tragic tranny trope is just, well, it itself is a tragedy because we're more than just victims, and we're more than just a side story or an extra character that you throw in to provide a little bit of pathos or a sad event. If you're gonna, like, honestly, if you're gonna put us in a story, put us in a place of strength. Trans people are strong. We go through a lot and we survive. And because of that, we deserve better representation in this media. We aren't just our tragedy. We are also our triumph. I love you all. Bye.